Okay, so hello everybody. We are looking at our ancient Greek architecture notes, and you'll notice the title of this presentation is called Buildings in Ancient Greece, but it goes with the Greek architecture notes. So the subtitle here on this title page says Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian orders. So every time you see the word orders, they are talking about a type of column, and a column is a long pole that is used in buildings that are designed with this type of architecture. I'll show you by the end, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In your notes, the answers or the questions, the notes, the bullets, whatever you want to call them, there are blanks, and you'll notice on the screen those blanks are underlined like we always do. So the first thing you're going to notice is that picture. So let's take a look at that first. You'll see these are Doric, so these are Doric columns. And what we're mostly looking at is this. This is the column itself, and they broke it here just to show you, sort of to point out certain pieces, but this would all be connected, of course. And then whatever's on top of that section of the roof is also part of making it a Doric style. So the Doric style is the simplest columns found in ancient Greece. It is very plain but powerful looking in its design. So these aren't like cheaper than the other ones or anything like that. They're just a style choice. If you want something kind of clean and plain looking because you don't like a bunch of fluff, then this is the column for you. They have a capital, so the capital is going to be the top of each of these. The capital in this type, in the Doric type, is a circle topped by a square. So circle right here topped by a square. Sorry, circle here, my mouse is going crazy. Topped by this slice is a square. And then you have this tall part that has 20 little parts to it if you count them all the way around. There is no base in the Doric order, so you'll see how this just kind of dives into the step here. The area above the column is called the frieze, and it had very simple patterns. So in this case, it's just lines. So that's everything for the Doric column, the Doric order. There are many examples of ancient Doric buildings. Perhaps the most famous one is the Parthenon in Athens, which is probably the most famous and most studied building on Earth. Buildings built now borrow some parts of the Doric order, so you'll see even in Bradenton, Sarasota, Palmetto, there's buildings, especially downtown Bradenton, like the courthouse, that have columns that you'll be able to now identify what type of column you see. So here you can see some Doric examples here and here. Okay. The Ionic order, Ionic shafts are taller than Doric ones. This makes them look more slender. They also had flutes, which are lines carved into them from top to bottom. So that's going to be these lines. They have a little bulge in them, which kind of this part being bigger than this part. The frieze is plain, so really nothing up here. The bases were large and look like stacked rings. So right here you can see that's different from the previous one we looked at, which was just nothing. It just faded into the step. Ionic capitals consist of scrolls. So this is definitely key to pointing out an Ionic column. If you see these scrolls, you know, bam, that's Ionic. And the Ionic style is a little more fancy than the Doric. Here's some examples of Ionic buildings. This is the Temple of Athena, and this is in Athens. And then over here, this is actually in England, in London, at the British Museum. And you'll see that you can definitely see the scrolls. So as soon as you see these two scrolls popping out, you know exactly what it is. It's Ionic. That's a really up close one. So it's one step up in fanciness from the Doric. Corinthian order is the most decorative and is usually the one that a lot of people like. I kind of like the other ones better, but if you like things to be a little bit fancier, a little bit more detailed, then this is the column for you. They have flowers and leaves in the capital. So this is how you can tell this one apart. Very elaborate, very decorative. Unlike Doric and Ionic cornices, the roofs are flat, which I'm not going to ask you about that really. If you just look at the capital, that's how you'll be able to identify the various types of columns. So you can see even from back here, you can kind of see the extra carving, and this is a really good example of a modern building. You can tell this is not old, but absolutely flowers and leaves coming off. And you don't see the scroll, and you don't see a very plain capital. You definitely see leaves and flowers, which makes it Corinthian. This is in New York City. They have a beautiful post office in New York City, a building that was then turned into a post office. And you can see here lots of leaves coming off. And yet, yes, there are little scrolls here, but because of the leaves, this one falls into Corinthian, and because the scrolls are small, it's not Ionic. Okay, so we're going to play Name That Column. So I'm going to show you a column, and you're going to tell me what you think it is. Give you a second to think. And hopefully you came up with Ionic for this one because of the scrolls, the little swirlies. Give you a second to think. This is the Reichstag in Berlin, Germany. And you should see these leaves popping out, and that should make you think Corinthian. The British Museum in London, so this is the faraway picture of what we just looked at before. And you should definitely see the scrolls and definitely be thinking Ionic. This is the Temple of Zeus in Athens, and Corinthian. Go back to this one again. Yep, so we didn't put any Doric in this one, but those would be plain with just that circular with a little tiny square on top. All right, so hopefully you have all of your notes filled out, and now you will have little places to sketch your types, and there was also a spot for you to play Name That Column if you printed my notes. So hopefully you have all that, and you can use this on Friday's test. Have a great day.